Let me welcome all the eminent speakers and the audience who are watching us live on Zoom and also on Facebook and YouTube Live. I am Ravi Gupta. I am founder and CEO of Elites Techno Media, and we have also been publishing a magazine called Digital Learning which started in the year 2005. And this magazine has been promoting the ideas of innovations based on ICT in classrooms, preschool to school to higher education. And this event, virtual event, which we are witnessing today, AJ, is the School Leadership Summit, which we are holding, especially focusing on the state of Chhattisgarh. So we have our eminent speakers here. I welcome Dr. MVB Prasad Rao, who is the director of CBSE. Namaskar, Prasad Rao ji.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar. We have with us Dr. S. Shrikanta Swamiji, who is the academic consultant. Namaskar for joining us. Thank you. Shrikanta Swamiji is associated with NAC and AAC, which is the accreditation agency of MHRD and Government of India. And we have our eminent speaker, Dr. Santosh Chaubeji, who is the chairman and managing director of the ISEC group, which is a prominent university in the central part of India. Madhya Pradesh, the ISEC University is known as one of the most prestigious private universities in the state of Madhya Pradesh. And also he's a founder of CVR University, CV Raman University in Chhattisgarh. So I welcome all our eminent speakers here. And over the whole day, we have an eminent list of speakers from the higher education sector and also from the school education and various related sectors who will be talking about innovations which are happening in the field of higher education and school education. And especially our discussion will focus on Chhattisgarh and central India as a geographical region. So as we start, and there is another speaker who is supposed to join us from the Chhattisgarh government. Let me request Santosh Chaubeji to, I will sir, request you to speak about your vision of education. That you have founded several prominent institutions. So you are a pioneer and a visionary. So what inspired you to develop these institutions? What has been your journey, and more important, what has been your inspiration and the goal? So if you can talk about it, I think that will set the context of this whole event. Santosh sir.
Thank you, Ravi. I get another chance to speak later? Or
yes. No, sir. You will have a chance to speak later. But I'm aware that you are supposed to speak in the end. But I'm interested that you actually start and
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, friends. I think my journey into education started around 84, 85, and to rural India for promoting science and scientific temper. And starting from there, the computers were just arriving, and I thought that the what is called as the IT revolution will actually pass by the rural communities if we don't really start connecting with them and start talking to them in Indian languages. So my starting point was always keeping central India in mind, the rural and semi-urban areas, and the language connect and the social connect with the people. And my initial foray was into IT education and vocational education in a big way. And I wrote the first book on computers in Hindi. And that became very popular among the students all over the central region, including Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan. Based on that book, we started IT education in schools. And from IT education in the schools, we went to the community. And from the community, we came back to bigger institutions. And the network really expanded based on this approach. And we had about 1,000 training centers by the end of last century. Then the network started demanding higher education. And the universities which we have set up are basically as a result of this approach. And they on the demand of the network, we have set up these universities. So if you ask me, what is my vision in terms of education and how do I connect with the new education policy?
Is open because we have been discussing with the controlling TV for India. It is the very important market and company is willing to.
You have to mute that.
Come into India.
Yeah.
With the Indian partners like us.
Okay, so if you ask me what is my vision with regard to the new education policy and also how I look at education in general, to be embedded in the Indian ethos, and I would prefer that it is embedded in the Indian traditional and Indian languages to start with, because that is the biggest push which we had in the at least the Central Indian region. So my first vision would be that start educating in your own language, number one. Number two, I would prefer that the social connect is maintained so that the society becomes the focus of attention rather than some vision which is focused outside India. And the third thing is that I would prefer to empower students, and they should be able to. So education, empowerment, and enterprise is what we call about the three pillars of ISEX education. We educate students, we empower them in critical thinking, we empower them in working for society, we empower them to learn new skills, and then instead of looking for jobs, of course we prepare them for placement and jobs, but we also make up their mind for setting up enterprises and providing jobs to people. So education, empowerment, and enterprise are three things. Finally, there has been a renewed shift on skill development and research. So we have set up a great research center in Rabindranath Tagore University. We have set up a incubation center for building up startup and entrepreneurship in the Rabindranath Tagore University. And with regard to schools, we always connect with these schools. So for example, this C.V. Raman University in Chhattisgarh, it organizes an annual event with these schools for project development. And thousands of students come to the university to demonstrate their projects. Similarly, there is also a cultural component which is involved. So there are inter-school competitions, there are inter-school activities, and they all are activated by the university. The university is not separated from the school education. It is connected with it. And finally, I think holistic development is what we think about. So there is always a focus on literature, culture, and the local traditions in terms of the cultural components. These 3 or 4 basic ideas shape our initiatives, and we have now 5 universities in Central Region. Madhya Pradesh, we have 2. Chhattisgarh, we have 1 in Bihar, and Jharkhand we have. But coming back to school education, all of them have a very strong linkage with these schools. And I'll just give an example. We recently conducted a Pustak Yatra popularizing the books in the schools. It went to about 100 schools all over in the clusters of the universities. And you will be surprised to see there's a popular myth that students don't want to study books and all that. There was so much of response to these books, and we sold about 9,000 books among the school students during this Pustak Yatra campaign. So Pustak Yatra was a popularization campaign of written literature among the students, bringing them back to libraries, bringing them back to studies. universities. And skill, we are maintaining, all the universities have the skill education component, but it is also linked with the schools. So there is level 1, 2, 3, 4 skilling also going on for the schools. To begin with, these are some of my remarks.
Excellent inputs, Santoshi. I think your vision of starting with a training centers and like expanding it all over the state and developing into full-fledged colleges and then into university is a remarkable journey. And as you mentioned, that something like the Pustak Yatra, a basic thing like that is a classic example of that how school education is still very much dependent on non-IT tools also, like besides IT. So as we are talking about IT in this whole pandemic situation, but our dependence on the physical books, the experience of the physical books is also as very much important. So let me move on to our next speaker, Dr. M.B.B. Prasada Rao from CBSE, who's director of CBSE. That how is the school education ecosystem changing in the COVID times? If you can talk about that, Prasada Rao.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Raviji, and very good morning to all the viewers online. See, education is no longer mere information and the knowledge. Earlier, it was just getting the information and storing the knowledge and getting the degrees and all. But it is all about the connectivity, collaboration, and the creativity. These are the three major issues. And this technology is going to be the enabler for this paradigm shift. And we need to go to the 21st century design and architecture. And the national education policy has very perfectly brought all these issues into the policy. And I'm sure that we are going to, the schools are going to be benefited out of this national education policy. What are the major outcomes that have been there? And the focus earlier, Raviji, was basically on the access and equity with less importance on the quality of education. But now this is the major issue that we need to recognize, that along with this accessibility, along with this equity, and we need to strengthen the quality of education. This is, unfortunately, this is being diluted. So many policies have come, so many people have raised to the occasion to improve the quality. But unfortunately, quality, they thought about the improving the qualifications. That is where we are going very wrong. And after the emergence of this technology, a lot of changes have come, especially in the field of education, where the whole knowledge is within our reach. Whenever you want any knowledge, you need not consult anybody, just you can get it. And that is why the teachers are also finding very difficult in the classrooms to teach the students, because the students are keeping abreast of the latest knowledge by looking into this technology and all. And what is now required is not the simple teaching learning process in the classroom, but what we need today is making these students into entrepreneurs. From job seekers to the job givers, job providers. This is what is required. And the two important issues that have been mentioned by Dr. Santosh was the IT and the vocational education. This vocational education is very, very important. If the vocational education is taught, the skills are taught right from the beginning itself, from the primary level itself, and the children will flourish like anything, because there is no courage, there is no confidence among the children after getting the qualification, where to go and how to move about and how to get a job. And if they are equipped with some kind of skill in their hands, and I'm sure that they will get a confidence of going by themselves and becoming an entrepreneurs and giving some jobs and all. So this is, the link is missing. And I don't agree that India is lacking employment. India is full of employment. Employment is there already, but we are not recognizing where this employment is. That is what we need to look into. And a lot of employment skills are there, and the skills have to be developed rather than what is the industry needed is something different, and what we are teaching in the classrooms is something different. So there is a big gap between what we teach today and what we actually practice. So this practice has to be changed from the mere teaching to that of the hands-on experience, and prepare the students to acquire some sort of skills at the early age itself, and develop some kind of liking for those skills. And most importantly, in India, the dignity of labor is not recognized. Employment means the mindset is that we need to get some white collar job somewhere, sometimes sitting in the chair and getting some good money or something like that. But when you look into the facts, even the skill oriented people, those who are studying in polytechnics and ITIs, are earning a lot of money than the students coming out of these universities, from the technological universities, even from the engineering side and all. I have seen so many engineering students coming out of with MTech qualification, having they are working for just 20,000 rupees or 15,000 rupees, whereas the students are from polytechnic with the greater skills, they are getting more than 40 to 50,000 rupees. For example, you take the carpentry, and you take the electrician job, or you take the plumbing job. These are all essentials. What I mean is, every house, at least one member must learn this electrical and plumbing, and that is going to change and save a lot of money also. We depend upon the electric. If something is not working, the sink is not working, the overflowing of water or something like that, we depend upon the plumber. And the plumber comes and he says that it costs around 10,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees, and we don't have minimum knowledge about that, and therefore we have to give to them. Similar is the case with the electrician also. And these are the skills which need to be executed at the school level. These are to be integrated into the curriculum and pedagogy, and then they are to be taught. And fortunately, we got a very good national education policy where different levels are taken care of at different spheres. That is from 5+3+3+4, and the preparatory stage, the fundamental, the foundation stage, the preparatory stage, the middle stage, and then finally the high school stage. And these will definitely take care. And a national education policy is really a wonderful policy, it is. But I don't know how far and how best can we implement it. The implementation level is going to be a biggest problem, and this needs to be addressed immediately. And real life situations have to be taught to the students, rather than giving some knowledge from the textbook, whatever that is available in the name of writing the examinations and scoring marks. They need to be engaged in this. The students are to be engaged. Today, we are getting the criminals means that they are not engaged properly, and therefore they are diversified. They are diverting to the other professions, and they don't know what to do, and therefore they are converting themselves into some unwanted elements and all. So these are the issues, including the dropout rates, and which will be taken care of by the national education policy, which is an excellent policy, which will certainly take care of the students' career as well as the nation's economy. Thank you very much, Ravi ji.
Dr. Prasad Rao, thanks for highlighting these points about the skills, and especially you're mentioning about the blue collared sector and the white collared sector, which is like has a differentiation in this country, and that creates a lot of aspiration issues in the children also. And I think government has put up a lot of emphasis on the skill development in the new education policy, and that's a great way of looking forward for bringing the skills back in the mainstream, and also it may create a lot of employment in the future, like the new entrepreneurs will emerge because of this change in the national education policy itself. And let me request our next speaker, Dr. Shrikanta Swamy from NARC, to talk about how does NAAC, the NAAC, the National Accreditation System of the country, look at the national education policy and what are the linkages with the school and the higher education system you are seeing? Dr. Shrikant.
Respected Santosh Chobeji, respected Professor Dr. Prasad Rao, and my dear and respected Dr. Ravi Gupta ji. Always I admire you. Today also my chance to appreciate you. I appreciate because of your very good insight about education. I appreciate you because of your leadership concern. I appreciate you the way in which the digital platform should be used for the purpose of achieving quality in education. I think my appreciation to you. With this, I am going to just start once again. I would like to share my experience plus one or two technical points, keeping the main theme of the today's webinar. I started my career, Guptaji, in the year 1973. I came from a rural background, 1973. Then I continued till 2018 in a formal professional teaching. I started my career as a teacher in a school, and 2018 I was teaching for MPhil and PhD scholars. Even now I am involved in teaching. Teaching is the noblest profession. And through this profession, it is a profession which helps us to make the livelihood of every student more comfortably. That's why we say we are involved in the human resource development process. I have involved in almost 1986 policy, and after 34 years, once again, God has given me this opportunity to share some of the highlights of New Education Policy 2020 also. The 1986 policy, even now I can recollect a beautiful statement which says, every learner who comes to you is a natural resource, a precious asset, which needs to be nurtured, nourished, tender with care and dynamism. I think every teacher should have faith in every learner, irrespective of whatever the background from where he has come. I think this is my expectation from every teacher, irrespective of whatever the level at which he or she is teaching. Then when we say teaching is the noblest profession, since I am representing the quality organization, we believe quality cannot come all of a sudden. All those factors, all those components, all those elements which have involved in the process of quality improvement should be taken into consideration. Now here comes the role of the leader. Therefore, the main theme of the webinar is also more towards the leadership. Therefore, as is the leader, so will be the institution. As is the leader, so will be the quality of education, whatever we are imparting. Therefore, the leader should be the main focus in our educational system, and we should be extremely careful in selecting the leader. Leader may be the principal in a school setup, or leader may be the HOD, or leader may be the vice chancellor in a university setup, or leader may be the chairperson or the CEO in the management of educational units. Therefore, in all these sectors, I feel good leaders, if they are there, I think it is possible that we can bring revolutionary changes and keeping the global standard in mind. Even when we think of the global leaders, many will say the purpose of the leader is to develop an innovative culture, a creative culture. His main focus is upon developing the creative culture, developing the innovative culture, developing a culture wherein every learner feels comfortable and every learner's potential can be developed. This is very, very important. No doubt we can prepare every learner to pass the examination. Through that, he'll be exhibiting only part of his potential, but he is gifted. He has got other qualities. Therefore, the leader plays a very important role. Leadership plays a very important role, and so also the governance and also the management. Then the second aspect is about the curriculum, whatever we are designing and whatever we are using, because the quality of the curriculum is very much useful in making the students to develop the specific knowledge necessary to lead a comfortable life on one hand, and the knowledge that is necessary to contribute for the knowledge economy of the nation. Therefore, some of our curriculum at present are having lot of deadwoods, lot of concepts, theories, principles which are outmoded, which may not be of any help. Therefore, I feel keeping the quality aspect in mind, the quality of the curriculum is also equally important. Then comes the quality of teaching and learning. How many of our teachers are equipped with the teaching skills? Teaching is an art, we say. Teaching is science, we say. When we say art, it is gifted. Only a few people have got that giftedness to speak, giftedness to teach, whereas the other people should be trained. Because in the name of science, it is possible for all those who have got inclination to become good teachers can be trained. And here comes the role of teacher education. Here comes the specific role of the pedagogy. And college, school level, many have been trained. College level, only few of them have been trained. University level, I think only less opportunity for many people to be get trained. Therefore, I believe pedagogy is the art of teaching. It makes us to know the methodology of teaching. Therefore, at all levels, in my opinion, pedagogy should be given specific emphasis so that the pedagogy makes every teacher to be more comfortable in teaching inside the class, inspiring the students and motivating the students. Another point I would like to say is there should be a beautiful connection between primary education to the secondary education, because there is a foundation for our higher education. Then there should be proper connection between secondary education to the graduate education, so also to the university education. That link should be good and a good connection should be there. And through that, we have to make people to know their responsibility, and then they should also move slightly outside their borders in order to know what is there at a higher level. Like primary level wanted to know about higher education, secondary education. Similarly, at the secondary education, they want to know about the graduate education. In that way, beautiful connectivity, if it is there, I think that beautiful flow makes us to develop the student from the nursery level to the postgraduate level or to the doctorate level. Beautifully, we can just like a sculpture, how exactly is going to do and carving a particular stone using all his skills from different angles. In the same way, we have to do it. I think, therefore, teachers who are very good in teaching can inspire, and good teaching always results in good learning. Then one more important point is regarding the infrastructure, very important. The facilities that are there in the educational setup is equally important, because you cannot make certain technical things to be taught without providing any kind of facilities like laboratory facilities or very good library facilities. Therefore, that is also very important. From quality perspective, infrastructure has got good correlation. Learning resources and learning centers have good correlation with the quality of teaching and learning. Then leadership, governance, and management. As I mentioned, the National Education Policy under the 19th point, it discusses, it has got 4 parts. Part 1 speaks about the school education. Part 2 is about higher education. Part 3 is regarding special areas of focus. And the last part is how to make it happen. Suggestions can be given by everyone. What is the guidelines which makes us to come out with a specific program of action? Therefore, in the 19th point, they have highlighted who is a leader, what should be the leadership, then what do we mean by governance? All world-class higher education institutions believe in self-governance. Self-governance is very important. Then second point, they say leadership is important, transactional leadership, transformational leadership. And then with the governance and leadership, it is possible for us to build an environment, educational environment, which will be on par with that of the world-class global educational environment. Therefore, we believe in our quality organization like NAAC. We also take this into consideration whenever we are assessing the standard of higher education institutions. Then student support, what is that you are doing apart from transacting the curriculum, what extra you are doing for the learner, what value-added courses you are going to teach. Like that, we give more emphasis upon that. Then apart from that, we also will ask the higher education institutions, what are your best practices? And ultimately, how do you connect yourselves with the community? I think, in my opinion, these are some of the points which have to be taken into consideration if you are talking about quality. And we have to believe in functional education. Functional education, as Prasad sir has already mentioned, functional education is one wherein whatever the ability, knowledge, abilities, and skills the student has acquired, he should be able to apply in his day-to-day situation. That is what we mean by functional education. So also in research, we insist upon the functional research, which will be of greater help. I think these are some of the points that I would like to share. My major focus is leadership is very, very important. And our National Education Policy 2020 says Board of Governors, BOG, Santoshji also may accept and agree with me that the Board of Governance play a very important role in appointing the leader, in appointing the heads, and also to run a big show by means of which quality can be ascertained and guaranteed. Thank you. This is what I want to just share at this time. Thank you very much.
Excellent inputs, Shrikanta, and thanks for highlighting the role of leaders and leadership. And we have with us Santosh Chaubeji, who himself is a leader and a founder. So let me ask him that, sir, when you have founded these universities, the ISET University and the CVR University, what has been your leadership principle, leadership belief, and what is the your vision of developing these institutions as world-class institutions? If you can highlight that.
Yes, Ravi, I'll come to that point, but I spoke in the wheel on what Shrikant has been saying. We are talking about Chhattisgarh at present. We are sitting in Chhattisgarh.
Yes.
Let us look at some of the data in Chhattisgarh.
Yes.
Now Chhattisgarh has got about 28% students who are tribal students, and there are 18% students who are, scheduled caste students. They come from the backward classes. Then there are about 48% students who are OBC. Now, this whole state has got a very different character, and generally about 39 to 40% population is residing in the tribal and backward areas. With regard to language, there are so many dialects in which the primary education should be done, in my view, and the NP now provides for it. Then there are cultural diversities with regard to various districts within the state. Now the GER is only about 18% in higher secondary, which we are trying to take to 50% or whatever. I would therefore, first point I would like to mention with regard to Shrikant Swami's inputs. Our regulatory bodies also have to change their perspective.
Good, sir.
While you are making an assessment of an institution, starting from the cultural diversity to various, you talk about best practices. There are so many best practices we adopt to promote the university in the local area. But the very tight, rigid framework in which database framework through which one is to pass through the NAC provisions, that database network framework is actually very detrimental to the assessment of real work which is being done by the people. So I would suggest that the qualitative matrices, which are a part of NAC, should be given a little more weightage, and the weightage has to be thought about. And we have to, you can't compare a university in Mumbai, for example, with a university in a tribal area of Bilaspur. And you can't, I mean, it's very, very difficult. Well, I don't know how can it be rationally explained by any policymaker. So that's I would, respond to your question with regard to leadership. I said in the very beginning, my perspective has been social connect. I mean, make an institution as per the demand of the area. If you set up an institution in Bhopal, or maybe in Delhi or in Mumbai, it will be more vertically integrated. It will be integrated vertically in terms of quality and in terms of competence. But if you set up a university, let's say in Bilaspur or in Bastar, it will be more horizontally integrated. You see, the horizontal demands of the students will be much different. So NP now provides for a teaching learning university and research university. But you think about the artisanal, competence which the artisans in Chhattisgarh have, or the craftsmen which are working in backward areas of Chhattisgarh, the kind of craft they create and the kind of artistic skills they have. There should be a horizontal integration with regard to this thing. So my method has always been, number one, it is not an individual leadership which I try to promote. I always make a team, talk to the team, and this team also comes from the grassroots. I mean, the leaders which I keep talking to, that he can be an artisan, he can be a local entrepreneur, he can be a local industry, he can be a local cottage industry, and we try to create skill sets which are required in the local areas. So, number one, I think leadership and it is actually global. I mean, my vision is global. That I come to the World Education Summits and I connect with, and we have a tie-up with about 15 top-class universities all over the world. And we have the best digital technology usage in these regions. You are given us an award for the ICT usage. So it is not that I am lacking the technological vision. I have best technology. In Chhattisgarh, we have the best labs, even better than the central universities and these kind of a thing. So I try to create best labs. I try to create best technology, best connectivity, and also link up with the international standards and universities. But I don't lose the vision of the local demand and local requirements. And my leadership is always, collective decision making. I don't force decisions. I keep thinking I may be a little more advanced in terms of thinking. Maybe I have a better command over language, and I speak to about 100 people all over the world. But the person who's staying there and the people who are staying there have got a better understanding of the local situation, and therefore I try to. So, for example, we have started many courses which are interdisciplinary in that area. So we have set up a community radio station in CVRU. And this community radio station is the only radio station in any university in this region. Okay. And it connects with the doctors there, it connects with the disease patterns there, it connects with the farmers there. We are setting up a medicinal plant nursery in the CV Raman University, where we are connecting with the farmer producer organizations for empowering them with the medicinal plant this thing. A similar thing we also do with this school. Few hundred schools in that district who come to the university. Sir was right in saying that there should be a continuous linkage with the, from primary to secondary to university. Our university is the hub of the school teachers. We call them, we show them the university pattern, we give them awards, we expose them to new technology. And now we have built up a program very, very recently, keeping the COVID situation, online teaching for school teachers, a course for school teachers, empowering them to take up how to design a content, how to deliver content online, how to connect with your students, and these are the problems. But coming back to the Chhattisgarh situation, there are a few very concrete problems, sir, apart from the language thing which I talked about and the dialects which I talked about. There is a great digital divide in Chhattisgarh. Even if I have got good content, Advantage is one of the best applications we have. It can compete with Byju's of this world. But you see, the students don't have an Android phone. And I can't deliver it to the student because they don't have the laptops, they don't have the access, they don't have the Android phones available to them. In the whole family, there is only one Android phone available, which is used by maybe their parents. And if he gets it for one hour or let's say half an hour for, he is not able to, and the data exhausts, the data costs, when the data speeds are low and the data costs for them to buy. So these are the real problems which create a kind of a digital divide apart from the language. And the third thing is, distances in Chhattisgarh. So the clustering, which NPE talks about, is a good idea. I think for quality maintenance point of view also, and from the teaching learning point of view also, the cluster schools is a good idea. Ravi, if I have 2 minutes time, I'd like to highlight some of the NPE provisions for schools rather than for the universities, which I think are very good provisions, and they should be flagged off in this seminar for the next sessions to come. Number one, I think that the early childhood integration with the main education stream is a very good idea. And the early childhood education, that the school students up to class 6 or class 8 develop their minds maximum. And therefore, integration of this at 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 kind of pattern, the early childhood education integration is a very good idea. And in dialects and in the local dialects, as far as Chhattisgarh is concerned, first 5 years. Second thing, this holistic development concept, meaning also giving flexibility at the secondary level, I think is a very good idea, because Chhattisgarh has got so much diversity, and you can pick and choose subjects, design curriculum, and that could be a great thing. Third, vocational education 6th standards onwards. This also is a very good provision. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, we have level 1, 2, 3, 4. But starting from class 6 and vocational education is also a very good provision. Then foreign language, one language at 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, that also is a very good idea, because in the eastern parts of India, 1 lakh students are required to go to Japan for providing technical support in their own language. If we have Japanese as one of the languages in Chhattisgarh, that can increase the employability of the students. Integration of culture and sports. Chhattisgarh got very good sports persons. The tribal community, we hold a inter-school competition in the athletics and in the sports areas, and we have very good sports, but they qualify for the national teams. So integration of sports and culture is also a good provision of NPE. Then I'll finally say that there are many good opportunities also coming up through the NPE. For example, schools, a provision of a counselor in school is a very good idea. Schools don't have a proper trained counselor, but if the counselors are placed in the schools, they can talk about the various kinds of options available 9th onwards, and this provides a possibility also for a market development. Similarly, EdTech products now have a great option in these schools. You already have seen the Whitehead Junior, what they are doing with regard to coding and these kind of things. I think apart from the school system in the government, there's also a great possibility of new EdTech products entering into schools, which will be teachers training. Sir was saying, right, the teachers are the biggest bottleneck and also are the biggest leaders. Teachers training also should be, buttressed so that the school education actually improves. These are some of the opportunities which are available for outside school systems and for within the school systems, and some of the good points which the NPE brings up. Also assessments. You see, now there are on coaching is going to be reduced. The provision for 2 board exams and giving you best of 2 kind of options is also a very good idea. I mean, the fear of failure has to be removed from the minds of the people, from the minds of the students. So assessment provisions are also very good in NPE. and content in various languages have to be created. That is one. Then National Testing Agency is also a good provision. Uniform NTA entrances, I think these are some of the key highlights of the school education system, and they should be pursued with the possibilities which can be converted into opportunities, as I have just mentioned. Yeah.
Points, Chaubey sir, and I think you have aptly highlighted the diversity of India, and each state and each region actually has specific different needs in terms of school education and higher education, and we have to look at those regional issues also, and especially in the context of Chhattisgarh, where we have focused this event today. Let me reach out to Dr. Prasada Rao. That how do you see the regions like Chhattisgarh,
yes,
who have a lot of tribal areas, and how do you see the status of school education, and what are the like as a CBSE, what are your ideas on this state itself?
I agree with Dr. Chaubey, Dr. Santosh ji. What he said is Chhattisgarh is entirely a different state because it has got its own, the people background is entirely different. So when you talk about the leadership also, the leadership that we provide in Delhi schools is different from the leadership that we provide in the Chhattisgarh schools. As he rightly said, that I observed that the students from the Chhattisgarh are more intelligent, not only in sports and games, but also in studies. I found myself, because when I was the regional officer of Bhubaneswar, I was dealing with Chhattisgarh state also in the CBSE schools, and I found so many students, those are highly intelligent, but their background is entirely different. That makes a lot of difference. That's why even when we talk about the best practices which the others are doing are not suitable for the to implement in the state of Chhattisgarh, because the people are entirely different. The background is entirely different. They came from different levels. You know, even the first generation students are there. What we found there. So therefore, the leadership itself has to be redefined in the states like Chhattisgarh.
Correct.
It has to be redefined in the states like Chhattisgarh. And it will be. And unfortunately, Chhattisgarh schools and the school education and higher education, they're doing their best. There's no doubt about it. And the students are coming up very nicely, and they're having their own identity at the national stage also. What is required is that 4 skills, if they can be implemented, other than the vocational skills I'm talking about, the life skills, they have to be, and the soft skills, they have to be taught to the student right from the primary age itself. And this third and fourth is the behavioral skills and the attitudinal skills. The behavioral skills, the attitudinal skills, the life skills, and the soft skills. These are the 4 skills which are not connected to the job, not connected to the vocational education and all. But these can be more, emphasized amongst the children of the Chhattisgarh, so that they will come up like anything. And more importantly, what we can see that even the classrooms, even in the classrooms also, the teacher who teaches the class 6, the type of teaching methodology he applies in class 6A differs from the teaching methodology that he has to apply in class 6B, because the different kinds of students, their background, their economic background, their social background, their language background, their communal background, and their residing background also, their native background also. So these play a very important role. And therefore, when we talk about the leadership, we are talking about the leadership in general, but the leadership in providing leadership in Chhattisgarh is entirely different, and also it's very difficult. Very difficult because we are dealing with a different kind of people, where people have not made much research about so far. And therefore, what I feel is that in the state of Chhattisgarh, if the children can be trained right from the class 6 onwards, as you have said, that the national education policy is a boon for the state of Chhattisgarh, especially because it has emphasized the vertical mobility as well as the horizontal mobility. And you rightly said that it is a horizontal mobility. Yes, I agree with you. When you go to the Bastar and the places like the remote areas and all, there is only horizontal mobility. The vertical mobility is not that possible also to think of at this particular stage. And therefore, there is a flexibility of the curriculum. There is a creativity emphasized in the national education policy also. And there is an autonomy that is emphasized in the national education policy once again. And also, there is a change in the policy. The problem here is that we are talking about the policy. We are talking about the policy, and we are just depending upon the policy for years together, not thinking about whether there is any change or not. That is a problem. When a policy is formed, we need to have a planning, a proper planning, plan of action. When the plan of action is there, whether this plan of action is working or not, that has to be looked into. And then we have to check it and then assess it. If the assessment is wrong, then there is something wrong in the planning itself. So this cycle has to be followed. And I am sure that Chhattisgarh state is doing very well, almost in the education, not only in the education field, but in every field, even in urbanization field also, have developed a lot, really. Infrastructure wise, they have developed a lot, where other states are the leadership, whatever the leadership that is there in Chhattisgarh, if they can be able to implement certain skills, certain soft skills, the life skills, the behavioral skills, and the attitudinal skills. Because when you go outside, when you meet the other children, the behavioral skills and attitudinal skills, they play a very vital role. And therefore, apart from the vocationalization, I'm talking about the other skills than the vocationalization. Vocational skills should always be there, right from 6th onwards. And I also told you that earlier in the earlier meeting also, that China is revolutionized now in the goods because of they start this vocational education right from class 6 onwards. There are a lot of manpower, skilled manpower. I again emphasize that there is a lot of industry has got a lot of jobs, but we are not suitable to that. And more especially in Chhattisgarh, it is
We have lost your voice, sir.
Yeah, connectivity issue.
Yeah.
Well, by the time Dr. Prasad Rao joins back again, let me move to Dr. Shrikant and ask him about that in the higher education sector, how do you see the state like Chhattisgarh, the challenges and the opportunities?
Yeah. Sir, once again, I appreciate the ideas shared by Professor Santosh Chowbey. Thank you for sharing the ground reality, number one, and at the same time, Prasad Rao for highlighting some of the aspects related to Chhattisgarh. Even I have visited Odisha. Odisha, they have identified many districts as aspirational districts. Tribal percentage is also more. They have got a tribal university, number one, and number two, they are having a big hostel wherein thousands of tribal students are studying. And some of them have become global level sportsmen. Therefore, that is Odisha is also another important state wherein they are addressing the tribal issues in a greater level. Therefore, it is also possible that Chhattisgarh can look into such states and see what that they are doing, what type of leadership that they are providing, how are they able to attract those students, how are they able to socialize them, how are they able to provide the job opportunities, how are they able to provide the skill development programs, how are they able to address the language issues. I think, therefore, my request is that there is an opportunity to do that. Then the second point, Chowbey has mentioned very nicely, when the NAAC is going for accreditation, they should see that the rural standard cannot be compared to the urban standard. 100% I agree with you, Professor. I also believe that we should not compare. Like in our classroom, we say every individual is unique, individual differences exist. In the same way, among the universities also uniqueness is there and diversity is also there. Therefore, NAC also believes that we should not compare the rural universities with that of the urban universities whenever they have been given the what we call that accreditation grades. Therefore, 100% we believe you can trust. Therefore, the professors who are going for accreditation, they are also aware that here I am going to a rural environment, rural university. Therefore, whatever the best that is available, they have to keep those aspects only and that they have to assess. Then supposing some of the aspects what we have specified for the urban universities, it is not, as it is not there. Supposing if the institutions feel in some places we have given the option out matrix, they can opt out matrix, like there are certain metrics that they can opt out, saying that it is not applicable to the rural setup. Therefore, I think I can, Professor Santoshji can trust me that people who are coming to that kind of background, they may not come with any kind of biased opinion. Therefore, there are peer team members who are very well having acquaintance with that of this kind of background or uniqueness of the state, uniqueness of the district, and they are going to assess it. In case it is not there, since it is a transparent procedure, I think you can highlight some of the best practices, whatever you are doing. According to me, a best practice which is considered in Delhi need not be a best practice in Chhattisgarh. Definitely. Whatever the best practice you are having, it need not be a best practice for the Delhi, Bangalore people here. The best practice is locally specified, keeping the local setting, keeping the background of our university, keeping some of the problems, what you are facing in the process of overcoming if you have come up, I think that is good. Therefore, in that way, best practice is local specific. We need not have any anxiety that we are going to compare with that of the other universities. No. Then another point you have mentioned, and new education policy also addresses issues pertaining to the art, culture, and language. Very nicely they have mentioned. Our cultural heritage, one of the objectives of teaching is to transfer our cultural heritage. Therefore, we are very happy. Chhattisgarh is very unique. It has got such unique cultural background, geographical background, then such unique languages. Therefore, we have to keep all these things, and the responsibility of a good leader is to nurture, nourish, and see that these things should be taken so that in future people also will preserve these things and remember these things. Therefore, I feel, no, in my opinion, 100% Santoshji, agree whatever you are saying about it. Therefore, when we are talking about the leadership, we have to keep, but I believe we do not have a leader like American leader, Indian leader. Usually we don't say, or a Chhattisgarh leader or a Odisha leader, we don't say. We say a leader is a head of the institution. A leader is one who is capable of leading the group. A leader is one who is aware about the objectives, and in order to achieve the objectives, as you said very rightly, he takes the team along with him. Therefore, my stress upon leader is leader should have a sound knowledge about the environment in which he is living. Very important. Because even national education policy, you must have seen, they are talking about the merit-based appointment for leadership. That is a beautiful point that they have mentioned. But in some places, it is not happening. Therefore, a wrong leader, if he is given a chance and position in a right environment, right educational setup, what would be his contribution? Therefore, they are saying preferably merit-based appointment for leadership should also be there. That's what I wanted to highlight that. Apart from that, I think, as you said, team spirit is very important. Leader alone cannot do anything. He has to take the whole group. He has to induce, influence, inspire. Then one more point I would like to mention here, organizational climate, organizational behavior, these two are very, very important. Therefore, when you are talking about Chhattisgarh, that institution, if it is in a tribal environment, what is the organizational climate there? Therefore, keeping that organizational climate, nurturing that organizational climate, people of that locality should get the benefit and easy movement from there to here. Because a student of Chhattisgarh in a small village, why we have to prevent him aspiring to become a member of some other university or some other state, some other nation. Therefore, that's why we use the word world-class student world-class training and world-class education. Therefore, I kept these 3 points in my mind when I'm addressing this issue. But you also supported me saying global vision and local thinking, local encouragement. There's a beautiful point, I think you said, sir. I think I agree. For both of you have shared a very nice point. But I believe, keeping maybe the NEP background in mind now, I believe that good leadership, good governance, good management, keeping the local setting will make us to move ahead and compete at the global way, so that the knowledge economy also is addressed. And universities should not become mere degree producing universities. They should become research universities, wherein they can contribute in creating the new knowledge, by means of which some of our social problems can also be addressed, like how we are addressing like a lot of experiments in laboratory, and the concept is lab to society, concept is lab to field, concept is lab to the agricultural area, lab to the space. We are talking about it, and thereby the leadership, if the leader has got that kind of vision, that kind of training, that kind of aspiration, I think assuming that the other things are okay, I am addressing that leadership, because our focus is upon the leadership, governance and management. Thank you. This one will share.
Excellent input, Shrikanta. I think thanks for highlighting again the point of leadership and local and connecting with the society, farm and that lab to the farm, lab to the society. It's very important. And we are almost at the end of this timing of the inaugural session. And let me just request Professor Santosh Chaubey to, in his concluding remarks, talk about that there is a whole issue of like outward migration, which happens from the state of Chhattisgarh for education, because people migrate to other states. So how that issue gets addressed when a university like CBRE University is right now working in this state of Chhattisgarh, and how it is also you are what you call linking your programs to the special needs of the state itself, the societal needs. You can highlight that.
Thank you, Ravi. A lot of good points have been made. I agree with Professor Shrikanta about the quality aspects. I was only suggesting that there are variations, and those variations should be kept in the mind when the regulatory body comes into, and he says that he also agrees with it. The migration of students from states like Chhattisgarh to one good thing which might result after COVID will be that this migration may be reduced if we can provide good opportunity for the students at, let us say, Bhilai in Chhattisgarh, or in Raipur in Chhattisgarh, or in Bilaspur in Chhattisgarh. I think the student will stay back and would like to study in the good institution which they have defined around themselves. I see this happening already in Bihar. The student is not going so much in Delhi now. I mean, they are coming back to our university in Vaishali and in Patna. And this migration may stop. The only solution to this is, which looks very useful to them. For example, if there is a demand, you know that rural market is expanding at present, and there is so much of insurance, so much of technological companies coming. So we call these companies for placement in their local area. Student would like to get a job in and around. We first of all try to create best labs and the teaching facilities. We have got about 20 smart classrooms in the universities. We have got the best high power lab because there's a power industry in Chhattisgarh. We have got the best mining kind of programs going on in the university. We've got the best pharmacy kind of programs. So create good, suitable programs and create good labs and infrastructure. There is a problem of faculty because faculty do not want to stay in such places. So we have a lot of invited faculty coming in for this thing. And finally, we call best companies there. In fact, Microsoft came to Bilaspur to recruit some of these computer science students. So apart from skill, we also provide the best quality infrastructure to retain the students. And post-COVID, I think the migration will be reduced and there will be more students coming in. One example I want to give you about connecting with the local. We organized a workshop of the PhD scholars to make a list of problems which are local problems on which research should be promoted. So they came up with about 100 such problems which are local problems in which research should be done. Yeah. And these research problems we are now going to take up as a major list, and any scholar who comes in for a PhD will suggest they kindly take up this as your research problem. Water quality in your next door river, or the declining forests, or the noise pollution. But there are hundreds of such problems which are to be researched. So we try to connect with the local situation. And finally, I think with regard to schools especially, and also in the university, the environment of the institution has to be joyous, and light and happy. And the place is happening and happy. I mean, don't be too worried about the results and things like that, and the targets and the placement and all. Placement will happen if you're a good person. Placement will happen. So I try to create our institutions joyous and happy. And there are a lot of things happening, and the students are performing, they are recording their songs in the studio, they are, connecting with the communities are coming there, the tribal communities come and perform. So things are happening, and it's always a joyous environment. These are some of the responses. Towards the end, since the time is almost over, I would like to thank our co-speakers, co-panelists, and especially ELETS for organizing this seminar, and also our CVRU colleagues who are here to, sort of promoting this event in Chhattisgarh. There is a lot of requirement for awareness and discussion in such states, and this kind of event, fulfills the requirement. So I'm really, really thankful to you, Ravi, and to all the panelists. Thank you so much. There was a very good discussion, and most of the points have come up, which are valid points. Thank you.
Great. Let me also thank Professor Santosh Chaubeji. I think he has been a great inspiration. When we started ELETS around 15 years back, he was with us in a conference in Thailand, and I remember him from there. So a lot of the kind of progress his organization has created, across the several states of the country. It's a remarkable achievement. And last point which he highlighted was very, very important, that making a nice environment in the institutions he is creating, which is very, very important for conducive knowledge knowledge environment in the organization itself. So thanks, Dr. Shrikantji. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Dr. Prasad, for joining us, and Professor Shrikant, Professor Santosh Chaubeji, for all your encouragement and support to ELETS. And thanks for being here. Namaskar to you, and we will close the session. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Sabko namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Namaskar.